This week on Africa Weekly, we focus on Senegal ahead of Sunday's presidential poll, from the president's claims of economic development to the growing concern of the country's educational needs. But first, a summary of the stories that made the headlines this week. Nigeria's presidential and parliamentary elections were called off just hours before polls were due to open on Saturday. The Electoral Commission said that bad weather caused by dust from seasonal winds disrupted flights delivering election material, also blaming sabotage for the delay after fires at 3 of its offices. President Muhammadu Buhari called for those responsible for the disruption to be held to account.
The reason why such incompetence manifests itself has to be explained to the nation. After the election, we have to know exactly what happened.
Since then, the tone of the two main parties has become increasingly combative, even after all sides agreed to hold peaceful elections and to accept the results. On Monday, the president announced that he had ordered the police and military to be ruthless with vote riggers, which opposition candidate Atiku Abubakar said was a painful reminder of the era of dictatorship and military rule.
Again, anybody who disturbs the voting system will do it at the expense of his own life, and I quote, that is General Buhari. It is quite shocking for any head of state to utter such words in a democracy, and we will not accept it from General Buhari in this country.
The elections are now due to take place on Saturday, after the one-week delay.
Don't be afraid.
Senegalese President Macky Sall held a campaign rally in Pikine, east of Dakar, on Tuesday, ahead of the country's forthcoming presidential election. In his speech, Sall promised to create new jobs through development.
1 million d'emplois à travers le programme Habitat.
1 million jobs through the housing program, through the Green PES program, through modernization of agriculture, through various programs, enterprises for women and for the youth.
L'entrepreneuriat des jeunes et des femmes.
Sall will face 4 other candidates in Sunday's poll, including the youngest presidential candidate, 44-year-old Ousmane Sonko, as Sall vies for a second presidential term. The former French colony is seen as a model of democracy in the region, having never experienced a coup d'etat and successfully staging peaceful transfers of power in 2000 and 2012. Rescue workers retrieved 24 bodies and 8 survivors on Saturday from 2 flooded gold mines in Zimbabwe, near the town of Kadoma, 145 kilometers southwest of the capital Harare. Officials fear dozens more illegal miners are still trapped. On Friday, the government said that between 60 and 70 artisanal miners were trapped in 2 shafts. Artisanal or small-scale gold mining, mostly in mines long abandoned by big corporates, is widespread and provides a source of income for many in the country where formal unemployment is estimated at over 90%. Although it is not banned outright in Zimbabwe, it is largely unregulated. A Tanzanian court sentenced a Chinese woman dubbed the Ivory Queen on Tuesday to 15 years in jail. 69-year-old Hang Fenlan was convicted in Dar es Salaam of trafficking 860 tusks between 2000 and 2014. The haul represents the slaughter of dozens of herds of elephants. 2 Tanzanian men were also found guilty for their role in the illegal commerce and were sentenced to 15 years each. Zimbabwe's central bank announced on Wednesday that it is introducing a new interbank foreign exchange system. The new policy in essence devalues the local bond note, the quasi-currency which exists in note and electronic form, introduced in 2016 by ousted leader Robert Mugabe to address cash shortages. The local bond will be a tradable domestic currency alongside the greenback, South African rand and a number of other foreign currencies adopted in 2009 after hyperinflation rendered the local Zimbabwe dollar unusable. The country's Reserve Bank governor says the move will ensure that no one goes to buy currency from the parallel market and that it will have a positive impact on prices.
Prices in Zimbabwe should remain at their current levels and or to start to decline in sympathy with the stability in the foreign exchange rate, given the current monetary balances have not changed.
Last month saw the inauguration of one of the key projects of Senegalese President Macky Sall. This regional express train line links Dakar with its suburbs, as well as the purpose-built town of Diamniadio and the international airport, which opened in 2017. These projects are part of the ongoing plan to make Senegal an emerging country. The aim is to rapidly develop the nation and put Senegal on the list of economies to watch for the future. But there's a long way to go for a country which is currently among the 25 poorest in the world.
Depuis que le PSE a été mis en œuvre, nous avons vu que le Sénégal a eu...
During the almost 4 years of the emerging Senegal plan, from 2015 to 2019, we had an average growth rate of 6.5% over the 4 years.
de croissance sur les 4 années de 6,5%.
But opponents of the plan criticize the costly investments, which load the country with debt that does not appear to bring immediate benefits to the population.
We are an undeveloped country. We have basic needs like water, electricity, education, health.
But the government says that education is a key priority in the second phase of its development program, for which they have recently secured $14 billion worth in funding from donors. To reduce its debt levels, the Senegalese state is hoping to turn the country's oil and gas deposits into a major source of funding. They estimate that these natural resources could bring in $30 billion over 5 years. Although, pointing to the volatility of crude oil prices, economists warn that the government should not get ahead of itself.
What is important is to get growth going. That's been done. Now we must keep the momentum going and increase it. We're not at full speed yet. Senegal will be at full speed when we hit a 10% growth rate.
The Senegalese government also hopes to encourage private investment to ensure maintained economic growth all year round.
With no space for a desk, it's far from being a practical room for a student. Saliou Sambe's room was only built for 3 people, but he shares it with 5 others. It's one of the many challenges faced by students at Dakar's Cheikh Anta Diop University.
People expect you to be outstanding, but in truth, the conditions are not there. Whether it's the financial conditions or the living conditions.
An alumnus of the same university, Senegalese President Macky Sall is campaigning for re-election, promising to speed up economic development and citing higher education as a key priority. But it's a race against time in a country where over a third of the population is under 15 years old. Dakar's main university was built to accommodate 20,000 students. Today, almost 80,000 are enrolled.
We don't have enough classrooms or lecture theaters. We're unable to divide them into small groups. In Cheikh Anta Diop University, it's 1 lecturer per 67 students, but in the Humanities and Literature faculty, it's 1 lecturer for every 137 students. The UNESCO norm is 1 lecturer for 26 students.
Some university officials say improvements have been made in recent years. They point to the creation of accommodation for an additional 4,000 students, as well as the renovation of lecture theatres and dining hall.
I'm one of those who think that social infrastructure is now at a sufficient level. What makes it seem insufficient is the overwhelming numbers, but the Senegalese government is aware of it and is working on the construction of new universities.
With the total student population of Senegal set to double in the coming years, education is likely to be a key priority for whoever emerges as victor of this Sunday's presidential election.
A tiny South African restaurant was crowned the world's best in the World Restaurant Awards in Paris on Monday. Chef Kobus van der Merwe opened the Wolfgat Eatery 2 years ago in a 130-year-old cottage and cave on the beach at Paternoster. Every day he forages for ingredients on the wild Atlantic shore of the Western Cape near his restaurant, where he also makes his own bread and butter. South Africa's sports minister said on Wednesday that she will fly to Switzerland to support Olympic champion Caster Semenya at a landmark hearing on proposed rules to restrict female athletes' testosterone levels. Semenya is appearing before the Court of Arbitration for Sport in Lausanne to challenge rules proposed by track and field's governing body that would force her to lower her testosterone. The International Association of Athletics Federations says it is introducing the rules to create a level playing field for other female athletes. That's all from us at Africa Weekly. Until next week.